I'm Gilad Tiefenbrun. I'm the Managing Director of Linn. Linn makes and sells everything you need to reproduce music in the modern home. So though the company started as a manufacturer of turntables back in 1973, but since then added every other aspect of the hi-fi system, so amplifiers, loudspeakers. In the 90s we got into home cinema and whole home sound. And then in the subsequent decade, in the 2000s, we moved into network streaming. The company's built its reputation on offering the highest quality sound available in the market. And that's our basic promise, that Linn makes anything you listen to at home sound better. One day in 2007, Professor Umut Batici of Strathclyde University visited me at Linn and introduced me to the idea of the futureSME project. He presented his high-level vision for the project and the overall aim of having a European project to showcase and promote sustainable high-value manufacturing in Europe was something that was very close to my heart, and therefore something that me and the company Linn really wanted to be part of. One of the first significant inputs we had from futureSME at Linn as participants in the project was the running of the business diagnostic. That involved initially interviews with myself and my manufacturing director, and then we widened that to include the whole management team. The diagnostic highlighted certain strengths and weaknesses of the business, and of course it was the weaknesses that we were interested in because we wanted really to benchmark the company against other companies and see how we could improve as an organisation. One area which was highlighted as something that we could be better at was strategy. What we identified was that although there was a strategy that we were working to, we were not communicating it consistently and effectively throughout the organisation. So working with the management team, Strathclyde came in and helped us devise a mechanism for the consistent establishment of strategy in a visual document that we could then communicate out through the whole company, which we call the visual strategy. The visual strategy is divided into 4 quadrants: market intelligence, top-level business KPIs, a SWOT analysis, and a strategic roadmap. And overarching the whole thing, a statement of the company's strategy. It was a really big challenge for the management team to address this whole issue of how we could create a visual strategy in a way that would make sense to the whole company. It was a challenge that we embraced, and it took us a long time, but it was really worth it, because the end result is something that is a living, breathing document of our company's strategy. We review it on a monthly basis, and every 6 months we go off-site as a management team and make any significant changes that are required from input over that period. One of the things that we were able to do as a result of creating the visual strategy was to communicate the strategy to the whole company. We organised workshops for groups of staff where we were able to have the senior management present their area of the visual strategy and take feedback and questions from everybody in the company. What that means as a management team is we know now that we've communicated the strategy to the whole company. And it also means that when we make changes, there's a context for what we're doing. It also means as a company, as we go forward, and we roll out on our strategic roadmap, everyone in the company has a context for understanding why we're doing what we're doing. Probably the key breakthrough for us has been on the strategic roadmap, which we decided to create as a series of integrated company milestones that occur every 6 months. We've mapped those out to about 2 or 3 years into the future, And those company milestones dictate the pace of change across the whole company. They're framed in the context of what the customer sees from the outside of Linn. So these are meaningful changes in the company that will manifest itself as improvements to the customer, either in the products or the services that they receive. But because they're framed as company milestones, they inevitably impact right across the whole company and allows us to move as an organisation in lockstep, working to high-impact deliverables every 6 months. The difference then is that instead of trickling out improvements that happen in various areas of the company just whenever they come along, we now have a strategy that defines integrated company milestones that join everyone together and make sure we're delivering everything we need to deliver across the whole company in large, high-impact blocks. And the net effect of that is it's far more noticeable to the customer that the company's changing. It makes the communication and rollout of new products and services more obvious to the market, and therefore means we're far more likely to be successful with what we're trying to roll out as a company at any given time. Strathclyde really helped us through the futureSME project by facilitating the business diagnostic at a number of different points. We've now run the business diagnostic 3 or 4 times as an organisation, which is allowing us to track the changes that we're making and see if we are making progress as an organisation. The subsequent feedback from the management team was incredibly positive. People who had been openly sceptical about the value that could be added through a futureSME process made a point of saying how much value they'd got from the exercise. Especially running the business diagnostic as a team made a huge difference to people because they started to understand that their view of how well we were doing as a business in a certain area did not perhaps match the views of other members of the team. So we had to work together and understand why we felt differently about certain aspects of the business. And naturally enough, that led us to make improvements in areas and arrive at an aligned view of where we needed to go in the future. Things are changing faster than they ever have done, and therefore what's most important is an adaptive capability in an organisation. So with futureSME setting out with the aim to help companies adapt, I think it's a really valuable thing. And I would certainly recommend to anybody involved in running a manufacturing company to consider the possibility of engaging with futureSME for the purpose of improving the adaptive capability of the organisation.